Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is the Blue Line Blast podcast. Jim Biringer here, co-host Matthew Blittner. We're back. The NHL season is back right around the corner. And when you see this, puck drop will be right around the corner. It'll be that night. Florida Panthers and Chicago Blackhawks. Matt, what's going on?
Great to be here, Jim. You know, we finally here. It's opening night of the 2025-26 NHL season. And in true National Hockey League fashion, I mean, there's no beating around the bush. In true National Hockey League fashion, we've got big news just 24 hours ago.
Yeah. I mean, who could it be? Who? Who is it? Who? Oh,
well, I believe people call him CMC for short. Not to be confused with the CMC over in the NFL, who is generally number one pick in fantasy football. Although this guy would be number one pick in fantasy hockey, hands down, and that's Connor McDavid, who now has signed a 2-year deal worth the same 12.5 average annual for a total of $25 million. Jim, there's good things of this, there's bad things of this, and there's some mystery involved as well. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with the good. The good is, like we said, just relax. He wasn't going anywhere. Like, pump the brakes, right? 2-year deal basically says, look, I'm here. I want to win. I'm showing you I want to win. This team's been so close the last 2 years. Game 7, 2024. Game 6, 2025. They lose. McDavid's always been about winning. He's been saying this. Like, the clues have been here. If people wanted to, like, listen and stop overanalyzing, the clues were right there. He said he wanted to win.
Podcasters like us overanalyzing?
I mean, some of us were overanalyzing. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you were. I don't think I was. There was definitely a lot of podcasters and a lot of people on national radio doing that. Me personally, I wasn't. I was like, he wants to win. He says Edmonton. He stays in Edmonton. Everybody can breathe. But
they can't really breathe. I mean, it's a 2-year deal. What he really has done, yes, he's given them a lot of cap space, a lot more than most people thought that they would have from it. Because staying at $12.5 million average annual, the maximum he could have signed for right now would have been 19.1. So he left money on the table. Forget about years or anything like that from it. He left plenty of money on the table yearly. So he's done Edmonton a favor there. He's still in his prime. I mean, Jim, he's 28 years old. The guy is not slowing down anytime
no,
soon.
And he's only getting better, right? He's only going to get better.
Right. So that's all good. You know, team friendly, helps the Oilers continue to go out. You know, they can go out and get a $6 million player. Jim, a $6 million player is not a fourth line guy. That's a second line guy. You know, or top 4 defenseman or a.
Well, they just signed one. Well, they just signed Jake Wallman to 7 years at $7 million.
Right. So you know they're really doing well with this Edmonton. I know a lot of agents and maybe some players around the league not so happy that, you know, the best player in the league should be the best paid, or at least, you know, the top 2 best paid or something. Now, yes, he's still going to be, I believe it's 5th highest in terms of average annual, 5th or 6th, but it's not a good look for agents and players who want to keep growing the salaries of the sport to have the number 1 player who is undisputed. It's not like, oh, well, Kaprizov versus Eichel versus
this ain't even close. Yo, you got to acknowledge McDavid.
He is number 1, and he stayed at the same amount of money that he signed for back in 2017. Jim, if you want other teams, he had all the leverage. Other teams now are going to go, and I've seen plenty of articles about this. Other teams can go to their players now and be like, well, you know, Connor McDavid stuck at 12.5. You know, how dare you ask for 15? Don't you want to be?
Doesn't matter. It don't matter.
You know, so that's his stagnate salaries at the top a little bit. It'll help the middle class for sure. It'll help the lower class. The upper class, it's gonna hurt. But Jim, the thing that people are not saying out loud, at least not yet today, that people are scared of, it's only a 2-year deal, Jim. So, yeah, he's got this year left on his current deal. Then he's got 2 for a total of 3. What if the Oilers don't win? What if they take a step back? You think he's sticking around?
I mean, I think
2 years because he doesn't know. He wants to stay. He wants to win. But once he crosses that age 30 barrier, he'll be 31 when the new deal is up. If they haven't won and they take a significant step back, it's going to reopen the whole can of worms. And Jim, I don't think he's saying that time around.
Look, I said it. I'll say it. Keep saying it. It didn't matter whether it was this 2-year deal, whether it was a 4-year deal, or a 5 or 6 year deal. Everybody was going to be talking about the end. They're going to still be talking about him leaving, whether he's going to leave, is he going to leave? Look, it basically put Edmonton's management on notice and put pressure on Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson to go rehabilitate this team and get depth and bring in players and bring in goaltending that can help this team win. Chris Knobloch's got a new extension. He's a perfect coach for this team. McDavid likes the guys around him. Bouchard's got a new extension. Draisaitl's new extension. Wallman's got a new contract. They have pieces here. Isaac Howard, healthy. Now, T.S. Ekholm, he needs a contract extension. Got Isaac Howard there, Zach Hyman, all these guys. This still is a very good Edmonton Oilers team. Not as deep as it was when it lost in Game 7. Definitely not as deep as it was last year, but guys were hurt. However, the best player in the world basically just went Sidney Crosby on everybody and said, winning is at all costs. And look, everybody's going to talk about when he wants to leave, if he's going to leave. Matt, my question to you is, what's a better situation right now to go win?
Well, there's not one that I can easily pick right off the top of my head. I mean, there are some places that you could say, well, you know, even if it may not be realistic. I mean, Florida, he's not going to go there. It's not going to be a, well, you can't beat him, join him type. I doubt Vegas can, even with their cap.
They can't do it.
You know, a lot of people were talking about Toronto.
No.
You know, people were talking about, oh, well, you know, the Rangers will go after him. You know, McDavid on Broadway. You know, they're, you know, can he go to Dallas? Can he go to Colorado? Can he go with Sid in Pittsburgh? You know, could he go to the Devils with Jack Hughes? You know, there would have been other options. It's not like there wouldn't be other options that he could conceivably win. And as you pointed out, the Oilers is not as deep as they were 2 years ago. Definitely not as deep as they were last year. So, Jim, if they don't find that depth with the money that he's helping them save, he's going to walk himself out the door at the end of the new deal. And I just want to point out, I'm going to make a cross-sport reference here. He's basically become LeBron James. He now basically has the keys to tell Bowman, to tell Knobloch, to tell whoever, and not that he's necessarily going to, because McDavid is not LeBron. He's not, you know, some pompous windbag. He's not so, you know, he doesn't have an overinflated ego or anything. By all means, he very much is Sidney Crosby 2.0 in that regard, as you said. But if he said, you know, he's giving them a lot of room to work with. Hey, Stan, I want this guy on the team. Hey, Stan, I think this guy can help us. Hey, I want that. I want to play with this guy. Again, not saying that David's going to use that, but he's become a de facto general manager on the team.
I mean, he could. I mean, what's it to say with the cap going up? And remember, projections are only projections, right? Projection says 104 next year. Could be higher. Could be 107, right? 113 could turn into 120. Oh, by the time the extension comes, he's eligible for another extension. The following year's cap could be 125, 130. Who says he can't go say, hey, Austin Matthews, let's go play together? Or, you know, I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility because the cap is going up and the players can utilize this now, because before they really couldn't, because we were in a flat cap era and certain contracts would demoralize teams, i.e. Ryan Graves at $4.5 million, not to pick on Ryan Graves. Good guy, but I mean, at a flat cap, that number, and even now, you could clearly see it doesn't help your cap situation because of the playoff cap. But you could put a super team together.
Well, I don't know if you could necessarily put a super team together just yet. I mean, there's too many teams in the league who, even with the cap going up, it's not like they have mounds of cap space like that to put a super team. The most you would have would be 2 max players.
Right. But I'm saying, imagine
Matthews had 2 max players for years.
I mean, technically they had 3 if you want to count Letang, but he was underpaid, grossly underpaid too.
Well, that's why I said max in terms of,
yeah.
a month.
I mean, just think of a team with Draisaitl, Matthews, and McDavid on it. That'd be ridiculous.
It'd be like back in the 80s when everyone was like, oh, yeah, what if Messier, Gretzky, and Lemieux teamed up? Well, they did team up in that international competition once, and you saw them have a goal of within 30 seconds of being put on a line together.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I got one more point on McDavid here. You mentioned LeBron. I want to bring the other 23 into this from cross sports. Talk about Michael Jordan. I'm talking about Jordan here because the way McDavid's talking, the way he's talked about it in the offseason, there's a lot of unfinished business here. And it feels like he's taken on that Jordan mentality of when Jordan got kicked around by the Pistons and they were like in the gym the next day. I went back to listen to some of his quotes from, earlier right around training camp and even with the Elliot Freeman stuff on 32 Thoughts. He's like, I didn't get out of shape per se. I was always in shape, always training, even with everything going on. Like his will to win, nothing else matters to this guy. He wants it. And I think you're going to see a different Connor McDavid this year, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs too, because say they get back there for a third time, because Florida's done it, but say they get back there and it gets to that crunch time where he's kind of gotten, not invisible, but where teams lock him up, I could see him taking that next level now, saying, hey, you know what? Not this time.
Jim, I just want to say with Halloween right around the corner, that is a scary, scary thought that Connor McDavid has another level to get to. Okay? If Connor McDavid has another level that he can get to at 28 years old, Jim, I'm telling you right now, other teams, other players, it'll be the McDavid flu. Instead of the Spectrum flu that they used to have with the Flyers in the 70s, instead of the Vegas flu when, teams first started going into Vegas to play the Golden Knights, although that wasn't necessarily because they were scared of Vegas. That was because they were out, till all hours.
Wash your hands season.
Yeah. That would be a very scary thought that Connor McDavid could all of a sudden. Well, didn't he just 2 years ago during their first go-around against Florida, didn't he set the all-time record for most points in a single postseason?
He was off by a little bit, but
okay, sorry. I think he finished like 2 points shy of.
Yeah, he had 42 points in 2024. Won the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Okay, Jim. What's better than 42 points in the playoffs?
Setting records.
Okay, you want to say he's gonna have 60 points?
Hey, you never know with this guy.
Okay, if he has 60 points, he doesn't need a super team. He doesn't even need a team. He's not himself.
Yeah, well, that's why he's the best player in the world, right? There's Connor McDavid and there's everybody else, and he's generational talent. He was a generational talent coming into the league. He's a generational talent when he's drafted. This is what we talk about when we talk about generational talents. There's franchise players, there's elite players, there's good players, and then there's Connor McDavid, and he's in that Crosby, McCarr, like those generational type things, Ovechkin, all those guys. That's what McDavid is. And he's showing winning is above all else, which to me, that's the kind of guys you want on your team. Now, look, everybody's going to say, oh, Kirill's got, I in his name, right? Well, the famous Michael Jordan line is there's a me in team. So if Connor McDavid wants to take over games, he can do it. So, look, it's a good deal. Shorter than I think everybody expected it to be. I think a lot of people thought 4 or 5 years. But 2 years, hey, you know what? Sometimes you throw stuff at the wall when you do stuff and you say, hey, maybe it's a 2-year deal. Maybe it's a 3-year deal. It's a 2-year deal. Hey, he's the one that went to them. The Oilers didn't go to his camp talking about money. This is the number they decided on. This is where they settle at. I like the deal.
Yeah, great deal for Edmonton. Great deal for Connor. And, great deal for podcasters like us, who it gives us something to talk about for the next 2.5 years to continue to figure out what he's going to do after it. But that's besides the point. But talking about new deals, Jim, if you're saying that McDavid is saying me in team instead of I, what do we say about Luke Hughes?
I want the money. Show me the money, Tommy. That's what he said.
Let's be honest here. Luke Hughes, he could be a $9 million defenseman in a couple of years from now.
Yeah.
He is not
Could be. Yeah,
a $9 million defenseman right now.
No, he is not.
The Devils submitted, just like everyone on Monday, they submitted their final rosters for opening night. The Devils were over the cap because of their long-term IR use. Which, again, for all those out there, yes, you can be over the cap by a certain amount with long-term IR. Yes, it's not the same thing as it was a few years, even last year. With now that the playoff cap is going to be in place, but they can still be over it a little bit, which they are. It's going to cause some problems once they start getting some healthy bodies back. Like when Nathan comes back, when when Kovacevic comes back. There's going to be some hard decisions that are going to have to be made. But Jim, and again, I don't want to disparage Luke Hughes. Okay, I'm not trying to disparage him. But it almost feels that he did the opposite of Connor McDavid because he wanted the most amount of money that he could get. I mean, it took till the middle of training camp. Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
it was something that his side and the Devils were going back and forth for months. And then finally they came to an agreement. And Jim, it feels like even with the cap going up, it's hamstrung the Devils a little bit because, and I know we keep saying, oh, well, you want to keep Dougie Hamilton because if you want to win, you want to keep a guy like that. But even with the cap going up, that might not be feasible.
Look, I'll say this.
But
look, I'll say this one. I'll say this one. Look, I'll say this. Good for Luke Hughes. Good, you got your money. From all indications I heard, and I don't know if you heard anything different, and I've heard other people from other places say the same thing. The Devils did not want to go above Brock Faber. They didn't.
I heard this.
And Luke Hughes' camp was fixated on a 6-year deal. Well, you get 7 times 9. Okay, that's fine. It's all well and good. But for a guy that caused 86 turnovers last year,
and not even a full season, because remember, he missed some time.
He missed some time, right, because of injury. Now, granted, he would have put up more points if he played those 11 games, right, because of the shoulder injury, because he was a dum-dum. But that's okay. That's besides the point. Look, I'll say this. He's a good defenseman. He's going to be a number 1 on the left side eventually. The problem is if your plan revolves around Quinn Hughes coming to this team, Luke Hughes will never see top pairing minutes at $9 million. Now you're paying a second-line defenseman $9 million. He's also may not see the first power play unit. And now you're paying a guy $9 million to see the second power play unit. Before you can move Dougie Hamilton, a couple of things need to happen. One, you need to see the improvement and consistent improvement from Simon Nemec. He looked great in the preseason. It's preseason, okay? I don't really take a lot of stock in preseason. I want to see him do it in the regular season because if he can consistently show it through the regular season and into the playoffs where we both know this team needs to be, and as our great guest, Matt Laughlin said, they expect a deep playoff run. So if you expect a deep playoff run, you need Dougie Hamilton there. You need all these guys that you want here. The advantage the Devils have right now is Jonathan Kovacevic is not going to be coming back on this roster until January. And if he comes back, is he 100% healthy? Is he ready to go? So they have depth to work with. The problem is next summer, they have to look at seriously maybe revisiting the Dougie Hamilton thing because can you have 2 $9 million defensemen on your blue line? Well, when we talk about Lane Hutson and the Montreal Canadiens, they may have a guy that's making 9.5 and another guy that's making maybe 10.5.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is obviously going to affect Hutson. This is going to affect all young defensemen who come up for contracts for the foreseeable next few years. And Jim, I think they need more than just seeing what Nemec becomes. They need, and don't tell me that it's not possible, because it's possible. General managers taught, agents taught, players taught. They need to know with like hard concrete, lock, stock, and barrel, as much as, as certain as anything can be in life. They need to know that Quinn Hughes either is coming next summer or the summer after when he becomes a free agent. They need to know he's coming.
Right.
Before you even think, oh, Dougie Hamilton. Because even if Nemec becomes, a very good, consistent player, there's a difference between consistent and top pair, point producing guy like Dougie Hamilton.
And especially on the power play with the shot that he has, because let's be honest, you and I have both seen it over the last several years. The only shot they have on a power play is Dougie Hamilton. And they don't have another shot. They just don't.
Right. So Nemec, even if Nemec becomes a number 3, plays as the lead on the number 2 pair, that's not replacing Dougie Hamilton. Replacing Dougie Hamilton is Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
But they need to know that Quinn is coming.
Right. But then again, remember, everybody needs to remember who's watching this and listening to this. Dougie Hamilton plays the right side. Quinn Hughes plays the left side. You still need to replace somebody on the right side. Is Luke Hughes going to move over to the right side and play on the right side?
Well, that's where things get interesting. If Quinn comes, I can see Quinn and Luke playing together. And you can't say, oh, well, one natural side, one not. Well, they're brothers. They've done it plenty of times. They have that chemistry. They know how to feed off each other on that. And as much as maybe you don't want to be too top heavy, Jim, think Fantasyland for a second here. Think about a top defense pair of Quinn and Luke Hughes.
I mean, it's good.
That's great. Okay.
Well, especially the way Quinn Hughes dominates with the puck and can skate it. Yeah, he's the second best defenseman in the league, bar none.
1A, 1B to Cale Makar.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no argue. You can argue either way. It doesn't matter. Let's just say they're the 2 best defensemen in the league.
Absolutely. And, Jim, time is making fools of us. So we're going to go to our non-existent sponsor break. And then we're going to come back with the guest of guests, the man who, when you think of NHL on ESPN, you think of this guy. You think of Greg Wyshynski, formerly of Puck Soup, rose to fame with Puck Soup.
And Puck Daddy.
And Puck Daddy. He's been around the block. Let's scratch that last part because Fred won't be too happy about that at time. We're going to welcome in Greg Wyshynski after our non-existent commercial break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from our non-existent sponsor break to the Blue Line Blast podcast. Again, Matthew Blittner, co-host Jim Biringer, and our special guest now, Greg Wyshynski, the man who is synonymous with ESPN's NHL coverage. Greg, welcome to the show. And, what a 24 hours it's been. NHL season's here at last.
First of all, thank you for the kind words. I'll give the nod to Buccigross, having been there since the early 90s. Like anyone who was there during the ESPN 2 days where all their graphics looked like they were from a Mountain Dew commercial probably takes precedence over me as far as synonymous goes. But yeah, it's been a crazy lead up to the season in the sense that obviously we've got a solid slate of opening night games. We've got some really interesting storylines to begin the season. And then lo and behold, on the eve of the whole thing starting, we got Connor McDavid deciding to drop a bomb, not only in recommitting to the Edmonton Oilers, but only recommitting for 2 years, which kind of, I guess he serves all audiences. The people in Edmonton who are happy that he stayed, and the people like me who are looking forward to him leaving at some point. Everybody got got some just desserts, I guess, on Monday.
Yeah, they did. I mean, look, real quick, just on McDavid, the shocking number was lower than what everybody expected, and even the term. You look at it, he wants to win. That's been the big thing. But can the Oilers do it?
Well, that's that's the thing. Like, so I've been covering these negotiations for months. I was one of the first people to say and report that just because Leon signed his deal, Connor wasn't going to go long term. And lo and behold, a 2-year deal comes out. The only way you're getting lower than that's 1 year. So it was a very short term. The dollars make sense when you think about why he's staying. He's staying to win a cup for Edmonton. He's staying because he wants to see this thing through with Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins and Hyman and all these guys. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by having cap flexibility to add the pieces that they think they need in order to get over the hump. I mean, goaltender would be pretty high on that list, and anyone who's worth a damn is going to cost you a little bit. So it makes sense that he's going to take a hometown discount. I completely agree with you that I did not think the hometown discount would be what he makes now against the cap, would be, 1.5 million less than what Draisaitl makes, as he still remains the highest paid player on that team. But if you're going to commit to stay and you're going to commit to stay to win a cup, then it makes sense that you're going to go a little bit deeper on the discount than anyone thought he would in order to give Stan Bowman the flexibility to do that stuff. Can they do it? That's a whole other question, man. And what's interesting about it is that if you're Connor McDavid, I mean, you basically can go to your GM and be like, "Hey, buddy, you're playing with my money. Like, I took this money out of my pocket and gave it to you. I should probably have at least some semblance of say on how you're going to use that money going forward."
Yeah, no, you hit it right on the head there, right? Connor McDavid basically is an assistant GM, the GM, whatever you want to call it, as we were saying earlier. He's sort of like LeBron James, but without the ego. But there are two players in the league who I'm curious what you think of their situations this year, and that's Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Crosby has set the precedent for many years of what Connor McDavid is doing right now, getting less, staying with the team. But, Pittsburgh doesn't necessarily have a bright future. Meanwhile, Washington, they were competing for the President's Trophy last year, but they were fueled, you saw it, by Ovechkin's chase for Gretzky's record. He got the record now. He's another year older. Do you think that Washington can still do it, and where do you see those two icons going?
Yeah, the Caps were interesting because obviously the Ovi record was tremendous and like you said, fueled their season in a lot of ways. But the reason they were so successful is because all of the bets that they made paid off, whether it was Jacob Chychrun or Pierre-Luc Dubois or Logan Thompson. They had a good pipeline of young players to kind of build around Ovi. They're kind of the anti-Penguins in the sense that their core got older. Some of them stopped playing, and the ones that remained allowed there to be a good infusion of younger players and different players around them to help keep the team relevant. I was in Washington for the beginning of their camp. The thing I heard from most people around the Capitals organization is that if Ovi goes out and has another 40, 44 goal season, he might stick around for another year. Like, he's having fun. If his body hasn't quit yet, he might still roll with it. I tend to believe he'll retire this season, having accomplished everything he needs to accomplish, and with his contract being in his final season. But I think he's still got the fire to compete. He's playing for a good team that can contend in the East, and everybody around the team says it's no guarantee it'll be his last year. I'm on the record saying I think Sid's leaving. I think what you've got right now is everybody around Crosby saying get the hell out of Pittsburgh, and Sid being extremely loyal to the only team he's known. And that's completely understandable. I think if he is going to leave, it might as well be before the trade deadline. At least then he can kind of survey the field and understand who the true contenders are and where he might want to play for the next couple of seasons. But again, this Pittsburgh team is going to be so bad. Malkin's probably going to end up being a Florida Panther before too long, right? And after that happens, you figure
so he's getting another ring, is what you're saying,
huh?
So he's getting another ring, is what you're saying.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they got to make the cut first. Obviously, if they add Sidney Crosby, they probably will. But the funny thing about the Panthers is that in all of the years that Paul Maurice has been there, this is probably the toughest invitation to the dance he's gotten. With Tkachuk being out until at least December, maybe even January, Barkov being out for the full season, everybody in that division being just a little bit better. It's not if they weren't in the Eastern Conference, I'd be a little bit worried about the Panthers right now. I think the fact that they're in the East, they probably are at least a wild card team. but it's no guarantee that they make it. The three-peat could end with them missing the playoffs.
Yeah, they could. We're talking about contracts here. We mentioned McDavid. Let's look at the two young guys on the back end. Luke Hughes and Jackson Lacombe get $9 million each on new extensions. But a little much for guys that played less than 100 games in this league, maybe just around that mark. And then what does that mean for a guy like Lane Hutson in Montreal?
They know what they have in Lacombe. Like he's terrific. He's a really, really good all-around defenseman. It was funny to see him get invited to U.S. Olympic development camp and everybody being like, who the hell is this guy? And then to see him get the money and then everybody else is like, who the hell is this guy? You'll know his name a lot in the next couple of years. Like he's going to be part of what they're building out there, and he's a really good young defenseman. As far as Luke goes, it's a unique situation. I mean, obviously they are paying for what they believe he'll become. They're paying for those power play 1 points that he'll get by when he takes over at the point for Dougie Hamilton. They're paying for hopefully the points he produces as a premier puck rushing defenseman in this conference. But Jack, unless I missed something, the top center for the Anaheim Ducks is not Leo Lacombe. Okay, the top center for the New Jersey Devils is Jack Hughes. So there's a certain amount of responsibility you have to take in keeping your best player's brother happy, who also happens to be a pretty good player. But there's a lot of other dynamics at play here, not only in keeping Jack happy, but also giving Luke a contract that extends him 2 years beyond Jack. So if there is a Hughes brothers reunion somewhere in this league that's not New Jersey, now you've positioned yourself where they're going to have to go and trade for Luke because he can't leave on his own.
Very well said. And I don't think Devils fans want to think about Luke being traded and Jack leaving, but I think Devils fans want to think that Quinn will come and the three of them will be united in New Jersey. But across the river, in Manhattan on Broadway, obviously, there's a lot of storylines you can go with the Rangers. First year bump with the coach, but the tour is another year older. Panarin and Zibanejad still have never really bought into any coach who they've played for on the Rangers. But JT Miller with the no BS. The back end, they have the top pair, but the bottom two pairs, who knows? Greg, what do you make of the New York Rangers this season?
Their third pair is the one I'm really worried about. I think the top two pairs will be all right, but the third pairing is just like, I don't even know if that's NHL caliber quite now. Again, given the conference that they're in, I think they can probably be a playoff team. Mike Sullivan's a great coach. Their top two lines are going to be absolutely legit. I think Will Cooley moving up and taking over for all the things that Chris Kreider used to give them will be fine. And they really did figure out Zibanejad once they moved them to JT Miller's wing last year. So, I think we're going to see an Adam Fox rebound year. I think we're going to see a better version of Shesterkin, and that alone should be enough to get them over the line for a playoff berth. But ultimately you're right, which is that this is a team that's still very much in transition, and they've got more holes in their lineup than they can fill. But they also have some decent youth, on the roster and on the way, and guys like Gabe Perreault as well.
Let's go out west for a minute. You look at that tough Central Division, and you say, okay, well, Winnipeg's not going to do what they did last year to win the President's Trophy, finish first. But there's the other two teams, and that's Dallas and Colorado, and both of them have some tough decisions to make. What do you make not only of the contracts that they have to deal with, like a guy like Robertson and Natchez, but where do you see them finishing?
I got Colorado over Dallas. I actually have Colorado coming out of the West. I think they are an interesting team in the sense that they did so much at the trade deadline last year, and it didn't manifest as being good for their playoff run last year. But I think Brock Nelson, some of the other things they've kind of put in place will pay off this season. I am kind of hoping that once again, the front office in Colorado pulls some magic out of their hat as we get towards the trade deadline and makes this team just a little bit better than it is right now. But I think that they are really dangerous, and especially if McKinnon and Makar can stay healthy. As far as Dallas goes, that's a really weird situation with Robertson. There was all that conjecture about him maybe being traded. I think that was probably based on a little bit of pressure to try to get a deal done, but also just in case there's anybody out there looking to blow them away with an offer, to kind of just make sure let it be known that maybe he's available. But Dallas, the intriguing part is One of those don't know what you got till it's gone situations, right? Like Pete DeBoer got them to the conference final in all of those seasons. He couldn't get him over the hump. He pays for it with his job. Obviously, he also kind of coached his way out of there with the things he said about Jake Ottinger in the playoffs. But Glenn Gullison's a good coach. Is he good enough to get them to where they've been under a really good coach in Pete DeBoer? And that is the big question in Dallas.
Well, Greg, you gave us a little bit of a hint about a moment ago, saying that you think that Colorado is coming out of the West. It wouldn't be a season preview if you didn't tell us who you think is going to win each of the 4 divisions and who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yep. I got the Lightning in the Atlantic. I got Carolina in the Metro. I got Colorado in the Central. And I think I ended up with Edmonton in the Pacific. It's going to be razor thin, though, between them and Vegas. And I have Colorado coming out of the West, and I have Carolina coming out of the East. I think this is the year they get over the hump. They just have this really wonderful mix right now of players very much in their prime, and some real hustle in that lineup now with guys like Ehlers and Stankoven, who they sort of, I don't want to say lucked into, but were sort of guided there by all of the mishaps with Rantanen last year. And then they have some great younger players, one of them being Nikishin on the back end, who I think is going to be maybe even a Calder Trophy finalist with how well he could play within that system. Goaltending worries me. Second line center worries me. But the good news is that they have a ton of draft capital they can move and a considerable amount of cap space as well. Maybe Jordan Stahl could put in a call to his old bud Sid. Him to come down to Raleigh for a little bit. So I got them coming out of the East. I got Colorado coming out of the West. I have Colorado winning the Cup. I think that they're going to be able to put it together. And Nate's hungry again. And when Nate's hungry, good things tend to happen for the Avalanche.
Well, Brad, thank you very much for that analysis of it. I don't know if Jim agrees, Colorado versus Carolina. I know I personally think it'll be Vegas versus Carolina, with Vegas winning it all. I guess we'll see when it comes. But Brett, thank you so much for joining us here on the Blue Line Blast podcast again. And Jim Biringer, Matthew Blittner, Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. And we'll be back with more right after our non-existent sponsor break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from our non-existent sponsored break here. Our second one of the evening, of the show. We just spoke with ESPN's incomparable Greg Wyshynski. Thank you, Greg, for your, keen insights into the NHL as puck drop is literally hours away at this point. Jim, now that we've spoken with Greg, now that we've gotten these things out there, I think it's time that you and I go around the league, division by division, and figure out who we think is going to finish 1, 2, 3 in each division, wild cards, playoffs, all that fun stuff. Because, Jim, let's be honest, that's what people want to hear.
That's true. They do want to hear it. Predictions sure to go wrong all the time. Guarantee it. But I'll say this. I think the Metro is probably the easiest one of these things to pick. Just saying. And that's where I'll start. Look, we'll start in our...
Hold on. Before you go there, I'm going to give a blast from the blue line but in a different format than what we've normally done. Jim, because we're making predictions right now, okay, I'm going to propose this as my blast from the blue line. For every prediction that we make regarding playoff-bound teams, whether they're, 1, 2, 3 or wild card, for everyone we get right, we are going to donate $5 to a charity of our choice.
That's fair. I like that.
For everyone that we get wrong, we are going to let the fans of our show, of the Blue Line Blast podcast, choose something that we have to do legally, of course. Nothing illegal, nothing gross, nothing crazy. We're going to let them choose something as our punishment for getting whatever predictions wrong.
I have a caveat. I'm going to go Mike Greenberg on this. No bets that involve hair. Me cutting my hair, involving
no bets regarding hair.
No bets regarding hair, okay? I like my locks. I like the way they look. I'm not doing anything involving that. But if there's other embarrassing, demeaning things I have to do, sure, I'm all game for it.
Well, no one said anything about embarrassing. I said strictly about punishment. I didn't say anything about embarrassing.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Punishment, embarrassment could be the same thing. And some of our viewers, they're cagey, you know? They're a little cagey. So hopefully we get them right so we can donate some money to some good charities. So, shall we begin in the Metro Division, sir?
Sure, kick things off.
All right. I'm going to stay consistent. Been consistent on a lot of shows when they ask me about this. My first caveat is off the top, talk to me in 6 months, and I'll see if I'm right. However, I'm pretty confident Carolina, New Jersey, Columbus, 1, 2, 3 in the Metro.
So, as Meatloaf sang way back when, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm going to go with you on Carolina and the Devils. I don't think Columbus finishes in the top 3 in the division. We'll get to them later. I do think that Columbus will factor into something. I don't see Columbus finishing 3rd in the division. Jim, I'm going to say right now that the Capitals will finish 3rd in the division. Just barely. Just barely. But they will finish 3rd in the division to give a top 3 of Carolina, the Devils, and the Capitals. And then that little team known as Columbus that you just said will get one of the 2 wild cards in the East. The other will come from the Atlantic Division. Jim, I think the Rangers miss out. They finish behind Columbus. I think the Islanders miss out. They finish behind the Rangers.
Yep.
I think Philadelphia and Pittsburgh obviously really miss out. And one of them finishes 7th, one of them finishes 8th. You know, it almost doesn't even really matter at that point. But that's my prediction. And I think Carolina, and Ranger fans are going to hate this, I think a big key to Carolina's success this year, not the only key, but
I know who you're going to say,
will be Keandre Miller is going to have 52 points. Keandre Miller is going to have 52 points. He is going to see power play time, whether it's first or second, it'll switch up throughout the year. And he is going to do almost exactly what Brady Shea did when he went to Carolina. And, Ranger fans pretty much ran Brady Shea out of town. Brady Shea is laughing his, all the way to the bank because he blossomed getting out of New York. Okay?
I love it.
He's become coveted. He blossomed outside of New York. Keandre Miller, the fans ran him out of town. He's going to blossom out of New York. He's got more of an offensive touch than Brady Shea. And Shea had a fairly good offensive touch. He was a 40-point guy. Keandre Miller's going to get 52 points, maybe more. And he's going to be a big key to the Hurricanes' success.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's the funny thing is we have the same 4 teams. We just have them in different order. The last 2, I still think Washington's getting to the playoffs. I just think it's going to be a wild card. I think that's how much I believe in Columbus just because Jack Greaves is there, and I think they're going to take a step this year because if they played Jack Greaves last year, I think they get in and the Devils don't make the playoffs. I think that's how highly I think of this kid. But you and I are on the same page when it comes to these 4 teams. We just have the last 2 in a different order. Washington knows how to win in this division. They're still very good. They know how to beat every team in this division. Let's just be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. That's the one thing the Capitals have going for them, and that's a big reason why they'll get in is because they know how to win in the Metro Division. Like, I'm being honest. Like, people want to laugh at me last year when I said I had Washington in the playoffs. I said I'm saying the same thing again. Holds true. They know how to win in this division. I agree with you, except I have this. This is a little different here, but like my order's a little different. But I agree. Like Islanders, I think are going to finish above Rangers. So Islanders,
I think it's possible for that to happen. I think that this is more of a transitional year for the Islanders. That's
right, but I think they could if they stay healthy goaltending wise. I think Islanders, Rangers, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. Like that to me is the rest of the division.
All right, so that's the Metropolitan Division down. I'll kick things off with the other Eastern Division in the Atlantic. Jim, Tampa is somehow their window's still open. Toronto, without Mitch Marner, is not going to be the same team, but I think that might alleviate some of the pressure. Florida is missing Matthew Tkachuk until at least December. I think it'll be longer than that. They're missing Bartov for the year, which we discussed last week.
Well, I mean, the way I'm seeing updates out of Florida, I mean, this guy's Adrian Peterson. Guy's going to be off crutches next week.
Well, that's not terribly unusual. It's, he's then still got to relearn how to walk and skate.
Yeah, I know, but
and rehab strengthen the knee. It's not crazy that he's going to be off of crutches next week. That's actually a not crazy time frame. It's the walking around, the running, the working out, the skating. That's what takes up the bulk of the rehab. Now, I think those three teams will finish in the top three. I think Toronto still wins the division. I think Tampa takes the number 2 and Florida takes the 3. And the other wild card, no, it's not going to be Boston. I don't believe in Boston this year. I don't believe in Buffalo. Buffalo, in fact, I'm going to say it now, they're going to finish last in the division. Okay, so I'm going to go out and say that the Ottawa Senators make the playoffs as the last... No, sorry, not Ottawa. What am I doing? Montreal is going to make the thing as the other wild card, closely followed by Ottawa, who is just going to miss out, and then Detroit, in what might very well be Yzerman's last year, is running the show, and then Boston, and then Buffalo, who may as well rename themselves the Buffalo Jets after the New York Jets, who said they're 0-5 this year.
They stink too. Well, it's not. Giants aren't much better. They just lost to the Saints. So I mean, like,
they have a win. They have a win, and they have
one win
in there.
Hey,
the Jets, they don't have any of that.
Look, I said this a couple years ago when I was on a show with somebody. I said, they asked me about Buffalo Sabres playoff chances. I said, get used to it. 14 and 15 are coming. I agree. Buffalo last in the division, unless Tage Thompson and all these guys go off. I'm just not sure that this team, the UPL's hurt. We don't know what they are. Lindy Ruff's the coach. I just don't know what I'm getting for Buffalo. How many other dudes want out?
I think Lindy Ruff also is the only coach with an expiring contract this year.
Yeah, he is the only one because John Cooper quietly got extended. Ryan Huska's got a new deal. And, so look, to me, top of the division goes like this. I think it's going to be Tampa, Toronto, Florida, and I have Montreal making the playoffs too. I've always been a big believer in Montreal this year. Then and then it's funny, we're pretty much on the same page. I mean, I know fans don't like this, but Ottawa. But then here's the thing that's different. I think Boston's going to finish ahead of Detroit.
I can see it, but I don't see it happening.
That's where I'm going to differ. That's just where I'm going to differ a little bit.
Significantly, fall down the path. And I think Yzerman in his last gasp is going to get them to 5th place in the division. Okay. So, again, that's not something to be proud of, but I think that is where Detroit ends up. And so, Jim, that's our Eastern Conference. Our Eastern Conference playoffs, it looked like this. We have Carolina, New Jersey, Washington, Columbus. We have Tampa, Toronto, Florida, and Montreal. Jim, that's going to be an interesting, depending on seeding, because, we did differ a little on seeding, and depending on which of the division winners obviously finish.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, exactly. Florida doesn't care. Florida don't care where they finish.
Yeah, that can be some interesting matchups.
I mean, those would be some fun matchups, especially the cross. Like, it all depends. Like, everything could stay in the Atlantic or everything could stay in the Metro. You don't know, depending on which the winners finish where, and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. So now we've got the East out of the way. Time to go over to the West, Jim. Let's start with the Central.
Hardest division.
So I don't think Winnipeg.
No. 100%. No. I'm not even letting you finish the question. Winnipeg's not finishing the top of the division. It's not happening.
No. They will be a playoff team, but they're not finishing number one. I think Dallas wins the division. Okay. I think Colorado finishes the number 2 in the division. Winnipeg 3. Okay. Now is where things get murky. And I do mean murky.
Like the middle?
Chicago did finish last in the division. We know that. Okay. St. Louis should be in the mix of a wild card. Minnesota should be in the mix for a wild card. Nashville should hopefully be in the mix for a wild card. Okay. And Jim, who am I missing here? I'm missing
Winter, a Mammoth.
I'm missing Utah. Jim.
Yeah.
There's a reason I left Utah for last.
Ooh. Dude, pray tell.
Think Utah Mammoth end up as a wild card out of the Central Division.
You read my mind? Why are you reading my mind?
I believe they have enough young talent and they're inspired enough and motivated enough, more importantly, especially the front office, to take some of that draft capital that they have, some of that cap space that they have, and the players who they have. You know, they did trade away Connor Ingram. I think they have what it takes. And I'm not saying they would be the number 1 wild card. I'm not saying that in the slides. They'll be the number 2 wild card. I think the Utah Mammoth can and will be a playoff team. Now, I think they're one and done. I don't think they're pulling off any upsets.
No.
They're not throwing
like Seattle.
They're not throwing all Gonzaga from a few years ago, the 16 seed, making a run. They're not doing that. But I do think Utah makes the playoffs. And they will be followed by St. Louis, Minnesota, Nashville, and then obviously Chicago to round out the rest of the Central Division.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. Dallas for sure, number 1, hands down. I think them and Colorado are going to battle 1-2 for the division. I think Dallas just has too much depth. Colorado is going to struggle. Depends on what Marty Necas gets to, if he's sticking around or not, any trades they make. And what that Cale Makar guy is going to get, I don't know, some 15, 16 million, who knows. But, you know, I think it's Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg. We all agree. And funny enough, again, fans out there, you know, look, you could put your own division predictions in the comments. Again, we agree. I think Utah's getting in. I think Utah is going to get in. And then it's followed by St. Louis, Minnesota, and then Nashville and Chicago. Unfortunately, Nashville.
We have the same exact thing for
same thing because look, for me, I just say to myself, can St. Louis do what they did last year? Not sure. Minnesota, what are you? Like, you got Kaprizov, that's great.
But they lost Zuccarello for next 8
Right,
weeks.
Exactly. Is Gus going to be the Gus bus all the time? Like, if Kaprizov could be Kaprizov, yeah, the Wild could be there. Maybe they get 5 teams in. I just don't see it.
Right, nope. And so
Pacific.
We're in agreement. Doesn't make for a very good podcast.
No, it doesn't. We'll probably differ on this division, though. I have a feeling.
Now we come to the Pacific Division, Jim. I'm going to take the reins right here. My number 1 pick in the division shouldn't surprise anybody.
Nope.
It's going to be Vegas. Okay. I'm letting you know right now, I have high hopes for Vegas this year. Okay. I think Edmonton is going to finish second in the division. It will be a distant second, but they will finish second in the division. Okay. I think San Jose finishes third to last in the division. I think the Ducks finish second to last in the division. I think that Calgary finishes fourth in the division with a wild card spot as the claim. The Kings will finish in the number 3 spot. And Jim, I see Vancouver imploding. I see Vancouver. I completely forgot about Seattle in there.
Yeah.
I
So
think
is Seattle going to finish dead last, or is Vancouver going to finish
dead last? Vancouver right above them.
Ooh. Interesting, because we're a little different on that. Though I will say this: I have Seattle at the bottom of the division. I do believe San Jose and Anaheim are going to take steps. I do not believe Anaheim is a playoff team this year, despite what Pat Verbeek says. I just think there's just too much at the top right now. Because, and here's this. So I'm gonna go in reverse order right now. So I got Seattle, then I got San Jose, Anaheim, right? And this is where it kind of gets a little funky, right? Because what's Vancouver, what's Calgary, right? Like, do we know if Demko's healthy enough and that team can play to its potential with Elias Pettersson, this team is a playoff team. If they don't, they're missing the playoffs, and well, cue the music because everybody's going to talk about it. I like Vegas at 1. I like LA at 2. I like Edmonton at 3. I'm taking Calgary at 4. Vancouver just misses the playoffs.
So we have a 5th consecutive year of Edmonton, Los Angeles in the first round of the playoffs.
It's going to happen, and we think. I mean, it should, right?
All right. So Edmonton beats the Kings again in the playoffs.
Probably.
And then the Kings turn around and
fire everybody again.
And wear T-shirts next year that say Edmonton is our daddy, a la the Yankees being Pedro Martinez's daddy in 2004.
Yep, exactly.
So, all right, so Jim, we do differ significantly enough. You said that the wild card team out of the Pacific would be
the Calgary Flames.
Calgary, and no, so we don't differ on who's making the playoffs because I said that.
No, we just have our orders different. Our order is just a little different. That's all.
Right. So because I said Calgary would be the wild card as well.
Yep.
All right. So that means out in the West, we've got Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, Utah. We've got Vegas, Edmonton, LA, and Calgary as our 8 teams in the playoffs. Jim, I think Vegas wins the Western Conference. I think, hold on to your hats, folks. I think the Carolina Hurricanes win the Eastern Conference.
Finally.
And I think Vegas hoists their 2nd Stanley Cup. Put it in the books, as Harry Rose likes to say. Vegas Golden Knights are 2025, 2026 Stanley Cup champions. Mitch Marner, as the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, goes home in the off-season to celebrate, and his house promptly gets edged by hurt Toronto fans.
I like it. No, that's a solid pick. I mean, I've seen a lot of picks for Colorado and Carolina. I saw somebody put one out. Check this one out. Somebody I saw 0-1 rematch Devils Colorado as a Stanley Cup final. I mean, that would be something. I mean, I would like that. That would be something. I'm not going to place a bet on that one, but it would be something.
Tell you what, Jim, we're taking the show on the road. If it is Devils Colorado.
Oh, yeah, 100% we're on the road.
The non-existent money we get from the non-existent sponsor.
We're going on the road.
Go on the road to do live show and cover that series, the entire series, from Colorado, from New Jersey, from the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, look, I always joke with everybody when they ask me for a Stanley Cup prediction now. I say, talk to me in 6 months because I have no clue. But that would be boring podcasting. So I will give you a prediction. That will probably change, and most likely will change.
You see, you gotta stick with it. I'm sticking with mine.
No, I'm not. Because, to be honest, I don't know. But I'll say this. I think the Dallas Stars are going to the Stanley Cup final this year. They're fine, like Carolina in the East. They are like Carolina, who always got to the Eastern Conference final, fell short. Dallas got to the Western Conference final, fell short. Dallas, under the new coach, with everything, even with injuries, they're getting there. Dallas Stars back in the Stanley Cup final. Their opponent is going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning, folks.
Whew. An all-Southern Stanley Cup final.
Warm weather Stanley Cup final.
ESPN has the rights to that. Has the rights to it this year. Am I correct in that? Because last
That is
year was
correct.
TNT.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure ESPN would love your prediction right there to come true.
I mean, you
the
know what?
ratings will be a real winner.
Hey, well, we all know everybody wants New York and LA, so that ain't happening. Hate to tell you, folks. But speaking of, let's close it out with this. We had fight night, multiple fight nights. Like
Yes,
there's a UFC card. Okay, Saturday night.
The Penguins 12 years ago.
Look, we had the Wardens settle the score at Madison Square Garden a couple of years ago when Curtis McDermott came to the New Jersey Devils with Matt Rempe. That was the Wardens settle the score. I don't know what this is with Tampa and Florida. These two teams legit hate each other. Suspensions, fines, coaches getting fined, teams getting fined. Scott Saburn got 4-game suspension. JJ Moser 2-game suspension. It wasn't hockey. It was stupid. It was guys just being stupid.
It wasn't even in that the two teams hate each other. So if you think about it, go down the list and read all the penalties.
Yeah.
90% of the dives are not regulars on either of the two teams.
No. So if you're going to have a game like that, just scrap the game. Like I bring this up jokingly because I'm an official. And when this stuff happens in adult league I go to the coaches and be like, guys, you guys want to play hockey? You guys want to be dumb? If you guys want to be dumb, the door to the penalty box is open all night. And then we can go home because none of you guys are going to have enough players to play.
Where were you as the umpire when my friends and I were in a men's softball league back when we were 19 years old, and every team picked on us because we were the youngest team in the league and we had got into plenty of fights. Where was someone like you to put an end to it?
Probably in Vermont.
Well,
that's probably where I was.
That's real helpful.
Sorry, guys.
We once had one of my teammates, good friend of mine, went sliding into third base, head first slide. No, sorry, feet first slide. Went feet first in. No high cleats or anything. Went feet first slide right into third base. Left fielder after single throws the ball into third, trying to get him. Doesn't get him. Slides in safely. Clean slide, clean tag. Third baseman gets annoyed that the player slid. Decides to take his glove and basically whack my teammate across the face, and all hell breaks loose.
That's not good, man. I don't know what you guys are doing.
The umpires did?
Nothing. They did nothing. Exactly. They did nothing. God bless the officials for trying to keep order on Saturday night. God bless them. Tampa's bench, they had like 5 guys. Who was it?
They had more dives in the penalty box than they did on the bench.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, Jim, they had the game before that. They had fight night.
Yeah.
And then
stupid.
But okay, what was that? Like 110 penalty minutes, something like that?
152 penalty minutes in the first game.
152 penalty minutes. Okay. Crazy, but you figure you get it out of your system, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then, Jim, they come back and they more than double with, what was it, 330?
I mean, it just started right away in the first period. It was completely obvious when the two rosters were put out there that you knew something was going to go down. And the league clearly wasn't happy because it wasn't hockey. It was stupid. Guys were just dumb. And it didn't give the league a good look.
No, it didn't give the league a good look. And, Jim, I'm going to say this as a second blast from the blue line, a more traditional one for this show. The NHL, as much as they, try to limit fighting, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is in the eye of the beholder, they should make one rule. In the preseason, there should be no fighting allowed. If you start a fight in the preseason, whether you avoid the instigator penalty or not, you fight in the preseason, immediate 10-game suspension for the regular season.
Well, that would have to be cleared by the PA because 10 games or more is one of those things you got to bargain. But
okay, so funny, 8 games. 8 games.
8 games. Look, it was funny because Bjorkstrand. How about the one Oliver Bjorkstrand scored a goal, but he was ejected from the game and he didn't even know it.
Yeah, and then they take the goal away. But
yeah, it's like, dude, you didn't even know you were gone. But it's crazy because I've never seen anything like it. Like, I wasn't around for 70s hockey. I know Flyers and all this stuff. Like,
Mike Milbury going into the stands.
Yeah, but this was just stupid because, and this is where I think this is my blast from the blue line anyway. Because I'll say this. I think obviously we're going to 4 preseason games next year. That should really help. However, if you think about it, if you go on the road, you need to ice a roster that's going to be an NHL roster. Because too many of these preseason games we see, home team stays at home with their regular guys, and the road team just brings AHLers and guys trying to prove themselves. If you're going to have 4 preseason games and you're playing a road game, that road roster better be an NHL roster.
Yeah, but Jim, remember the new CBA, veterans who have played more than 100 games are not allowed to play more than 2 preseason games.
So you can have one of those games that is on the road can be And
then what about the other road game?
Well, the other road game, well, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
That's what I'm saying. Automatic 8-game suspension.
Automatic. Doesn't even matter.
No one's gonna want to miss the first 8 games of the season.
No, it's true. I mean, some of these guys are missing 2 games already. So look, shame on you for doing it. Shame. Feel shame and go sit now for 4 games and forfeit some money. And that's bad boys. So, but look, the regular season's here. We don't have to talk about preseason hockey anymore. We don't have to talk about contracts anymore. Well, we can, but we can talk about the play on the ice. It gets started Tuesday night. Florida raises the banner. Spencer Knight's in town. Could be a revenge game for him. Maybe the Blackhawks spoil the party with Connor Bedard. Devils get into it on Thursday. Should be a good one where it all ended in Carolina. We'll have some fun there. We'll see what happens because regular season action will be underway the next time we get together, Matt.
And the next time we get together, we will have a repeat guest who is a friend of the show.
Yep.
Who is going to be coming to town with the defending Stanley Cup champions, Florida Panthers. And his name is Dave Dwart. So look forward to that on next Tuesday night. So you'll see it next Wednesday.
Bingo.
Until then, Jim, take us home.
Guys, it's been the Blue Line Blast podcast. Jim Biringer, Matthew Blittner, up on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment. Take care. We'll be back and enjoy the new hockey season.